Where are you, Tony?
I'm dying at fucking tank right now. There's like 10 guys here. I'm running away. Don't shoot me.
Killed one.
Bro, they're all over me. I think they flashed themselves or they're just really bad shots. Please shoot these guys at the RUF. Hey folks, Tony Mo here, and welcome to my Tarkov new player series. This is going to be a long-running series aimed towards new Tarkov players. Like I do with most of the games I play and cover here on the channel, I like to focus on that new player experience, helping other people get into the game just like I did, and hopefully take some of the lessons I learned along the way, pass them on back to you, so you can maybe start off with, better footing than I did. Maybe learn some things earlier on than I learned them and have your overall early experience be better than mine was, because that'd be awesome. If more people can fall in love with Tarkov more quickly and get past some of those early frustrations, remove some of the initial mystery from the game, at least the parts of the mystery that you want removed, just a little bit quicker than I did, then I would say that that's a success. There's a lot we're going to talk about, and in the future, we're going to be covering things like map routing and just general map awareness and knowledge. But today I really want to focus on PMC spawns. This is something that I didn't actually learn until I was maybe 70 or 80 hours deep in Tarkov. And honestly, it's kind of like pulling back the curtain, if you will, on where other players are, and I think just a huge element of mystery that exists in your early Tarkov experiences. When you first start playing this game, even if you've got a map up like the one we're going to be looking at today, chances are everything's going to feel random to you. It's going to feel totally RNG. Where you spawn, where you encounter other players, nothing's going to make any sense. And that's absolutely not the case. Everything sort of has rhyme or reason. You can even predict as you get more familiar with the game and things like PMC spawns and the amount of time you've been in a raid, where other PMCs might be and where they might not be. Tarkov is really a game of probabilities when it comes to planning your route across one side of the map to the other. Again, we're going to discuss that in much greater detail in another video because map routing gets really wild, but one piece of the puzzle for all of this is very much understanding where you're going to spawn and where other PMCs could potentially spawn in relation to you. A lot of new players die within 2 minutes of their first raids because they're not aware of PMC spawns. So, what I need you to do, first and foremost, is to make sure that you're always playing Tarkov with a map up. We're going to focus on customs because it's the first map you should be focusing on, as there are tasks from the dealers that are going to take you there. These tasks are worth doing, and if you get way deep into the game, doing quests is something you're probably going to want to do. Customs is also just a really good map, in my opinion. It has a lot of very easy to identify points of interest, and almost all of the key locations in the map where you can find good loot are recognizable. There's something that you're going to be able to pick up on, and you'll be able to reference them when making callouts to teammates or just when trying to orient yourself in the map as a new player. It's still going to take time, don't get me wrong, and now that we have this customs map on screen, this probably all looks very foreign to you. What I recommend you do is put this map up on a second monitor or just print it out. If you don't have the luxury of a second monitor in your PC setup, print the map out. Hell, you could even go as far as to laminate it, and then you could draw on it with dry erase markers, which I thought of this idea yesterday when I was working on this video, and I was like, I'm actually going to do that, especially for maps I play a lot. I could even draw on that map ranges for sniping. Like, that actually sounds like a really good idea, almost better than having it on my second monitor. So whatever you do, make sure you have the map up for yourself and keep it up at all times. If you're running customs, there's no reason not to have a customs map up. If you're running in a group, do yourself a favor and ensure that everyone has this map up. There's nothing worse than playing with a group of new players all stumbling their way through a map, and one person just refuses to put the map up, or they're too lazy to do it, and then they're asking where everybody is, and you're like, look at the map, I don't have the map up. Don't be that person in your group, and don't let someone be that person in your group. Use the tools and tactics you have available to you, even as a new player, and make sure you use them as a group. So, customs map. You've got it, I've got it. In fact, if you don't have it, you can get it down in the link in the description as well as the pinned comment via Tarkov Helper. This is a great place to access all of the maps. It's a fantastic resource. Bookmark it for yourself. Let's go ahead and take a look at the map and talk about those PMC spawns. So, you can see our legend down in the right corner here. PMC spawns are identified by this yellow arrow. So that means we've got one here, 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 and all over the map. Basically, you've got one chunk of the map where we're not going to see any player spawns, all right? and it's pretty much this. This is kind of a dead zone. PMCs don't spawn here. Doesn't necessarily mean the loot is better here, but there are locations where the loot is better. Dorms, really good location. ZB13, really good location. However, back here, we've got a location, a section of the map that has a lot of player spawns, but that also has pretty good loot. There's going to be multiple PCs in this area. These are just good loot areas that happen to have PMC spawns in it. One of the issues that Customs kind of has right now is that this back part of the map here has a lot of PMC spawns in it, but there's really not that much good loot. And we're actually going to be able to use that to our advantage when we do a little bit of a scenario here to help you work on planning out potential PMC spawns, enemy PMC spawns. So let's actually just jump right into that. And let's say that your team spawned here at Crossroads. Now, if you need to, you could put this video up on another screen and boot into the game, go in offline mode, orient yourself at Crossroads, and then hit continue and kind of walk through this. I understand that visualizing the in-game imagery with just a map can be difficult, but try and work through me here because it's important that we have this top-down view to actually look at these spawns. So let's say your team spawns at Crossroads. If you take what I just said and try to put it into practice for yourself, you're going to want to acknowledge that all of these other yellow triangles, these yellow arrows, are potential PMC spawns. They will not all be filled. A yellow arrow does not mean a guaranteed PMC spawn in that location. It means there's a chance for a PMC group or a single PMC, who knows how many, to spawn in that group. They will not all be filled. In most instances, this area will probably get 2 to 3 PMC spawns, sometimes 4, but let's just say 3 on average, 3 groups of PMCs. Again, that's not individual PMCs. It could be a group of 5. It could be a group of 2. 3 groups of teams or individuals could spawn in this area. A pretty common setup that we've been seeing the last few days, for example, is that we'll spawn at Trailer Park, which everybody spawns at Trailer Park. People will tell you it's like the spawn for some reason, right? We'll usually look this way. If we see anybody run in, we might catch them. We haven't really been doing that much, though. So our whole team will push and wrap around Crossroads. That allows us to clear out this corner while then getting ready to check this corner where there's a spawn here. We're also basically covering storage as we push through here. So we're clearing this spawn, and then getting ready to look in towards red here, which is one of the few areas where there is like good loot and also a quest objective. So if someone is back in this area of the map, they're typically here to do multiple quests that show up inside of the office, which is why you won't see a lot of people turning around from a spawn like Railroad to Port or Railroad to Tarkov to run back in. There's just no reason to do that unless they have that quest. So it's pretty rare, which is where we start to see things like process of elimination and probability come into play. It's likely that if we spawn Trailer Park, we see into someone here, we wrap Crossroads, we clear this whole area. Let's say we fight one team inside of office, okay? That team is dead. We can pretty much surmise if another team doesn't show up during that firefight or shortly after, that the other spawns were probably Railroad to Port or Railroad to Tarkov, and these teams went this way. Because again, there's no real reason to come back to Crossroads. And that's not something that should seem obvious to you as a new player. That's just something that I know from playing and actually putting in the hours. But that's the sort of thing that will become second nature to you on these maps. That's where like advanced routing gets more into play. But all you really need to know as a new player is that there are spawns here and you should be aware of them. That's like the most basic understanding you need to have. I'm just trying to give you a larger example so you can start to put this stuff into practice as you make your way through a map like Customs. So again, your team spawns Trailer Park. Let's say you wrap Crossroads, you clear it out because you know there's a spawn there. You go inside, okay, you check, there could be players moving in here. Let's clear this out. Okay, we know we've got more spawns up ahead. Let's clear this out. You're basically moving through the areas where players could spawn, choosing whatever route you'd like, but knowing when you are going to cross through a potential PMC spawn threshold, if you will. So if your team, for example, got a spawn right at Railroad to Port, let's say you got a nice juicy Railroad to Port spawn, you might decide, okay, well, we know there's PMCs behind us. Do we want to stay and fight them? And this is really the sort of thing you need to be doing with this knowledge. The knowledge that this map and these PMC spawn locations gives you is using this as an opportunity to either ambush and engage PMCs with that knowledge, with that foresight, or to avoid them entirely. So let's say you've got a quest where you need to go to Factory Shacks, which is located right here on the map. That's where you got to go, right? That's your big quest objective. You spawn Railroad to Port, you could just leave. Why stay and fight people who are here? Let's leave. In the meantime, as you're running across this bridge, you could be looking at Land Bridge to see if the players who spawn Railroad Tarkov are actually there and if they're crossing. That'll give you a leg up. That'll give you additional information. You now have that knowledge. You can do whatever you may with that knowledge. Engage those players or just say screw it and run straight to factory shacks to complete your quest. This is the sort of thing you need to be doing with PMC spawns when you're playing this game as a new player. And I know, again, it sounds like a lot. You're trying to learn the map. But just glancing at this and saying to yourself, okay, guys, we spawned right here. We spawned just out scav checkpoint. And then saying to yourself, well, let's go this way. We're going to run in because we see that sticks out to you. You don't even really know it's here, but you see these as a big structure. That grabs your attention, right? So take the time to look at your map and say, okay, hey, that's ZB11 Admigate area. We've got many PMC spawn locations here. You're probably only going to get one group of PMC spawning there, and again, that's something you'll learn over time. But knowing that PMC spawn there at all, it's a huge advantage as a new player. It's something that everybody else has in their tool set, but that you might be overlooking. So again, do not ignore the value of being able to read PMC spawns. Nothing is a guarantee, but knowing that there's a bunch of PMC spawns in that direction is a really basic and simple thing to start to understand, to start to memorize these spawn locations, and it's going to give you a huge leg up from wherever you are right now as a new player. This is information, again, I did not have until I was like 80 hours in the game. We didn't know how spawns worked. We just assumed like totally random across a huge chunk of the map, and that's kind of the case, but I've seen people further misunderstand it. I've seen people who think that everyone spawns literally on this side of the map in customs, or everyone just spawns in one area and then runs into the rest of the map, and that's just not the case. Player spawns are distributed across all of these spawns on a map like customs and the rest of the maps, so there are rotations, and again, routing things that will come into play as you get deeper and deeper into the game and start to have a better understanding of the map layouts and get better at reading PMC movement, the time that's left in the raid, and a number of other things. Tarkov is a game about taking all of the information you can potentially obtain at any given moment and using that to make the decision for what you do next, using that to influence the decision that you make next in the very next moment. And that decision can always be altered by new information, whether it be visual identification of PMCs, scavs, objectives you might need to be hunting down, like a scav you need a headshot or something like that, or sounds. Hearing somebody, for example, shooting right here. Like, let's say your team pushes across, you didn't pay attention, team from Railroad to Tarkov came here, they're pretty much right next to you, and they're already shooting scavs here. Well, you hear people shooting scavs, okay, that should put you on high alert, right? And that's, again, something that's going to come into play the more you play Tarkov. But do yourself a favor, learn these PMC spawns, share this information with your squad, keep these maps up for yourself. We're going to talk a lot about this map and these maps in the future. Make sure you grab one for yourself. Good luck out there as a new PMC. Don't forget to use your scav when that cooldown comes off timer. Always be scavving. Scav the maps that you're trying to learn. It's a great way to spawn in a random area and be forced to orient yourself. It's a great way to learn the map and learn those points of interest. If you got any other questions for me, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. If there's any other new player style discussions or topics you'd like to see me cover here on the channel, I'd love to hear your suggestions. Other than that, take care of yourselves out there. Be awesome to one another, and I'll see you in the next one. Whew. I did it.
Killed him?
Yep.